Okay, guys, here we are for my first Facebook Live event. Not sure if anyone's actually attending, but we've gotten some great questions submitted ahead of time. So I still hope to use this 20 minutes, half an hour to give you some free information and some answers to frequently asked questions. If you're joining in, if you're coming later, you can just leave a comment, or you can also get a copy of the video tomorrow through email with all of the already submitted questions. So I'll go ahead and start with our first question. Great questions, by the way. Most of the questions I think kind of generate around this theme of getting back into it or getting refocused. After a really nice summer vacation, everybody enjoying their holidays, September is right around the corner, and I felt like most of the questions I got were kind of based around like, okay, had a great summer, and now how to get back into it. So here we go. First question. I've been able to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night for the last couple of weeks while I'm on summer vacation, and I'm feeling really good. That's great. How can I keep this feeling going when work starts again and I can't get that much sleep? So really good question. First of all, great job for taking your time off of work to get that amount of sleep in. 8 to 9 hours a night is awesome. I would say maybe not necessarily super doable once work starts and the schedule starts to get busy again, but a nice way to maintain that feeling of energy and feeling really good from having slept so well is to start to incorporate some decompression techniques into your agenda. So when you're on vacation, you're sleeping so well and you're sleeping so long because your brain is feeling a little more relaxed. You don't have that constant to-do list in your head. You don't have the alarm going off in the morning. Now, having that constant to-do list in your head, that's going to happen again when you go back to work and when things start to get busy again. And that's okay. But what's a really nice thing to do is get into the habit of being able to easily make the switch from a busy brain to a more relaxed brain. And that's usually when we get into trouble. We're trying to fall asleep early at night, but we just can't get there. The brain is busy. The dreams are getting stressful, and you wake up feeling like, okay, I'm not refreshed. And then you have to actually go on, continue with your day, and then the same thing maybe happens the next night. So to keep that sort of good energy coming from your sleep, even if it's less than 8 or 9 hours, again, we want to incorporate some decompression techniques. So setting a time in the evening where you get off of electronics, maybe understanding that reading before bed, giving the eyes words to read, pages to focus on, is much more relaxing than looking at the screen. Perhaps taking 5 minutes in a dark room before you sleep to really get into the habit of winding down. I myself am a fan of scents, so I like to light certain candles in the bedroom before I go to sleep. I like to put lavender oil on. I like to really give my body clear signals, okay, it's time to rest. And then if I can only get 7 hours of sleep or 7.5, it still is deep sleep. I still wake up feeling relaxed. So I hope that answers the first question about how to keep your energy going even when you get less sleep. It's about making that quality of sleep high and trying to find decompression techniques before bed. Next question. I used to love my twice weekly yoga class. Then my life got busy with family issues and I fell out of the routine. I'm having a hard time finding the motivation to go back. How should I start up again? Great question. Again, all about kind of getting back into the routine, especially with family issues. You kind of put yourself on the back burner and you start to take care of other people. It's really normal. Getting back into a routine can feel like a really daunting task. So what I suggest is to schedule one yoga class to start, rather than telling yourself, okay, I have to get back going every Tuesday, Thursday for the next X amount of times. Just pick one date, one class, one time, call a friend, have her or him meet you there, and just take the one class. Taking the one class, you'll probably remember why it is that you had that routine in the first place. You might see an old teacher, the studio will certainly try to sell you a package, and the ball will be rolling from there. But if you think about starting that routine up again and thinking, wow, I have to go to yoga twice a week, every week, forever, it's too much. One class, one date, grab a friend so that you're a little bit more responsible to show up, and then take it from there. Next question. After a few weeks of vacation, I'm back at work. It seems like for every meeting, event, and appointment, someone brings a big tray of sweets. Whether it's cake or cookies or candy, it's always around. I only have a certain amount of willpower. How would you handle this? This is a great question, and one that I get a lot from all of my clients who work in office settings. That sort of tray of cookies or of sweets that's just lying around the office all the time, even just a big bowl of candy. That can be a difficult temptation to overcome. What's my favorite method of dealing with this is trying not to rely solely on willpower. You can't just tell yourself, I'm not gonna eat candy today, I'm not gonna eat sugar, and then expect that that's gonna work. What you want to do is kind of set up your environment so that the candy or the cookies or cakes, the sugar really becomes just a little bit less appealing. So I have kind of 3 methods of doing that. The first one, maybe the least popular method, but is to try to replace the snacks. Chances are you're not the only one in the office who wishes that they were consuming less sugar. So if you bring something, an alternative, like maybe you put a nice bowl of dried fruit or fresh fruit next to the sugary sweets instead of just leaving the sugary sweets on their own, that might be a nice way of kind of counteracting. Again, you're probably not the only one trying to fight all of the sugar that's hanging around the office. And if you get enough attention, enough people that are on board with replacing the cookies, the cake, the candy with fruit or dried fruit, then you might be able to make that permanent switch. If that seems like too big of a leap, or you just don't want to be that person in the office who's trying to convince everybody to eat fruit, you can also try to keep yourself better, more well-fed. So if you know that at 3 o'clock you have a meeting, it might be a little bit stressful, and that there's always going to be a tray of sweets in the center of the meeting table. Before the meeting, try having a protein shake or a protein bar, a handful of nuts, something that's satisfying, so that by the time you get to the meeting, you're not starving. You feel actually kind of full, and that when you look at those sweets, you're not necessarily dying to have them. You know, they still look appealing. Maybe, yeah, you could still have one, but that feeling of in your belly and that feeling of really wanting to eat something, it's not there so much because you just had a source of protein or a source of fat that's keeping you feeling a bit more full. Also, drinking a lot of water throughout the day can help to combat those cravings. So kind of keeping track that you're drinking a lot of water and that you're eating well, that you're not starving by the time you get to these meetings. That will really be helpful. The last thing is eat the sweets. Just indulge, but pick and choose when. A nice rule that I like to follow is the 80-20 rule. So about 80% of the time, try to make your best choice possible, but the other 20%, give yourself a little break. So in more simpler terms, once a week, tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna have a cookie. That's, 5 work days a week. So over the course of 10 work days, 2 of those days, or 20%, you indulged. You'll also start to feel a little bit more appreciative towards the sweets, knowing like, okay, I'm saving my sweets for Friday. Every Friday, I'm gonna allow myself to have cookie, or every Monday, because you kind of hate Mondays and you have a little bit brightness in the afternoon, whatever it is. But that's the third option, is just allow yourself to have it, but pick and choose when, so that it doesn't become just a habit or a daily thing. The next question. I have a hard time managing my schedule. I work for myself and I constantly have a list of to-dos that I can never seem to get done, no matter how many hours I put in behind the computer. How can I get this under control while still staying on top of my duties? So nice question coming from someone who also works for themselves. As I work for myself, I've encountered this same sort of issue. And even if you're not running your own business, you are always your own boss. You're in charge of your own time. You decide what you're going to do with yourself, and taking that responsibility seriously can make a big difference in how you live your life. What I suggest for anybody, whether you're an entrepreneur, a mom, working in an office, make your notebook and pen or your calendar your best friend. Starting each day, taking 5 minutes just to kind of sketch out your day is incredibly helpful. Now, my own coach gave me this advice of picking 3 to-dos every day. Only 3. That might seem like, okay, how am I gonna get a lot done if my to-do list is only 3 items long? But you would be surprised. You're gonna separate these 3 to-dos into different categories. 2 of those to-dos are gonna have to do with work, whether it's actually physically going into the office, teaching, whatever it is that you do for work. That's usually one of the to-dos. You kind of have an obligation, you have appointments with somebody. The second to-do list in the arena of work is something that you want to get done, something that's a priority for you. Not necessarily an obligation, it's not an appointment that you have to keep, but it's something that you want to get done. The third to-do, my favorite to-do, has to do with yourself. What are you going to do that day for yourself? Nothing to do with work, maybe nothing to even do with being productive, but what are you going to do for yourself that is going to give you a bit of self-care? For example, I know that every day for myself, I usually want to incorporate some kind of exercise. I just like it. It makes me feel good. It's my job. So if I have 3 to-dos, I know one of those is going to be exercising, and that's a pleasant to-do for me. If it's not pleasant for you, don't make that on your to-do list. But I sit down and I sketch out, okay, I have to teach this many lessons. I have to, I want to get this done, and I want to train. I sketch out the hours of my day. From 7 to 9, teach. From 9 to 10, train. From 11 to 12, eat lunch, take a break, so on. And then at the end of the day, I can usually look at that little agenda that I sketched out for myself and think, wow, I got it done. I accomplished everything I wanted to do, and I had extra time for that kind of overflowing to-do list. Otherwise, if I don't sketch out my day, I'm not really sure what's happening. I may find myself with a couple of free hours thinking, wait, what should I be doing? Or thinking, I really should be doing something. I'm wasting my time right now. But creating a little daily schedule for yourself is incredibly helpful in staying on top of your to-do lists and knowing, okay, if I didn't get it done yesterday, when I go to create my to-do list for tomorrow, it's really easy what's going to be on it, the leftover from yesterday. So just a bit of time management for yourself. Really try to sketch out your day roughly so that you have an idea of what's ahead. You know you have time to get things done. And at the end of the day, you can feel pretty pleased with yourself. Like, okay, I spent my time in the right way. Another question. I always start September off strong, only to find myself exhausted and run down by November. Then the holidays arrive and I feel like I have no energy to participate or to be with my family and friends. How can I change that pattern, and how can I enter the holiday season feeling how I feel now after summer, which is super refreshed and renewed? This is also a common thing I get with a lot of clients. After a couple weeks of summer vacation, everybody got a lot of vitamin D and sunshine and rest and relaxation. September is not really such a big deal. You're on it, you got energy, maybe a little less sleep is no big deal. Then October comes and it starts to get a bit darker outside. You start to notice the energy fading. You're maybe not sleeping as well as you were. And then November comes and it's really dark, it's cold, you have no idea what happened to that person from 2 months ago that felt so energized and renewed. And then all of a sudden the holidays come, Sinterklaas, Thanksgiving for those in America, Christmas, New Year's, and then it's one big whirlwind and you start the following year, January, feeling like, what just happened? So August, we're only a week away from September. It's not that far away from sort of the crazy holiday time. And what I really suggest is starting September by managing your time in 3 ways: on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and on a monthly basis. So in that last question, we talked a bit about how to manage your time on a daily basis, sketching out for yourself what a day might look like by breaking it down the hours, those 3 to-dos, making them happen. But also on a weekly basis, when you have that bit of time for yourself, whether it's a Saturday or Sunday morning with your cup of coffee or your tea, you sit down and you think, for this whole week, what is it that I want to get done? And just write it down. And then think for a month. For this whole month, in the next 1 month, what is it that I want to achieve? And then when you're making those daily to-do lists, you can keep checking back. What are my weekly goals? Am I getting closer to my weekly goals? What are my monthly goals? Is what I'm doing every day getting me closer to that monthly goal? It might sound like a lot of work to put in, but we're talking 5 minutes a day here, maybe 10 minutes of pre-planning. And that way, by the time you get towards November, you're feeling like, wow, I really stayed on track. I am achieving what it is that I want to achieve. And if you're not, then taking a closer look at things like your eating habits, your moving patterns, your sleeping, what's holding you back, what's preventing you from getting those things done. The idea behind all of this planning and forethought is just to prevent yourself from kind of getting carried away with the tide. As school starts, as work starts, people are going to demand a lot of your time, and it's really easy to just keep giving it away and then to end up feeling like, where am I? Why do I feel so bad? And how have I not gotten anything done for myself? But if you know for yourself what's important, what you want to get done, you can be a little more protective of your time and a little more clear on where it is that you're heading, and that's really helpful. Another question, this one a little less about routine and more about food, but still a really good question. I hear and read so many different things about the perfect diet. No sugar, low fat, low carb, vegan, paleo, etc. How do I know which is the right one for me? I've gotten this question so many times over the ages, and I really like to answer it because I too used to be caught up in the perfect diet. I've tried or done everything, veganism, vegetarianism, paleo, ketogenic. I mean, I've been there and done it all. And while I certainly don't regret it, I think it gives me a great knowledge to give people today. I also wish that I had just kind of known what I'm about to tell you a bit sooner. This is something that came directly from my studies in nutrition, and I will just read it. It's a quote. The healthiest people in the world do not have a single nutrition philosophy because the human body can adapt so well to so many different kinds of food. So the healthiest people in the world, they do not have a single nutrition philosophy. So why do we feel like we need to? Really, to pick an extreme diet, unless you have some serious medical issues, it's just not necessary. And the appeal of these extreme diets is that they maybe will work more quickly. That if you cut out all carbs within 1 month, you're going to have a flat stomach. Or if you are going on a hunter-gatherer diet, within 1 month, you're going to have no inflammation at all inside the body. These are the kind of claims or things that are promised tied to these more extreme diets. But what we should all be starting with is very basic, not even thinking about elimination, but just a few basic things. So not trying to follow a specific diet, but trying to follow some basic principles in your own diet. And these would be drinking enough water. I can't tell you how much I advise people to drink water, and that's already hard. If you can't drink enough water, I don't think you should start to cut out sugar from your diet. I think we should go for the water first. So drinking adequate water, that's a basic in your diet that just needs to be there. And until that's there, I wouldn't try anything else. The next thing, eating enough fruit and vegetables. Again, this is not about eliminating things, but it's about making sure that you're meeting the basics. Do you even eat enough fruit and vegetables? Fruit is a bit easier. It's around a bit more. It's a little more on the go, grabbing a banana and apple. But are you eating vegetables with every meal? Literally at every meal, is there a vegetable on your plate? If not, no need to go for a more extreme approach. Eat more vegetables. Are you eating a lot of food that's in packages or a lot of processed food? Try to make that less. Just eat fewer foods out of packages. That's it. And the last one, just being mindful of when you're eating. Eating slowly, eating with awareness, enjoying your food. If you're not doing those 4 things already, there's really no need to take it onto a different path where you're cutting things out, where you're not eating meat, not eating dairy. Drink water, eat fruits and vegetables, limit processed foods, and eat mindfully. That's a great foundation. And once you're there, we can maybe take it a step higher. I think I have 1 or 2 more questions. This is a good one. I feel like I get bloated a lot after eating, and I'm not sure what's causing it. I don't think I have any food allergies, but it's especially when I'm trying to eat healthy things that it seems to get worse. What do you suggest? So at first, when you're making the transition or you're starting to become a bit more aware of what you're eating, if you automatically just start eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, you might be overloading your system with fiber. So to counteract that, you want to make sure that you're staying properly hydrated, that you're drinking a lot of water. That's one way to fight bloating. And it might sound counterintuitive if your belly feels full to drink water, but it does help. It does help a lot. The next thing to do to combat bloating or that kind of overly full feeling is to move. Your organs, your intestines are just like any other muscle in the body where they greatly benefit from movement. So walking is great, especially walking after a meal, slow walking, but also certain yoga movements or yoga postures where you're laying on your back and compressing and twisting your abdomen. Those can be incredibly helpful when it comes to relieving bloating. That midsection area, it just needs a bit of stimulation or massage, compression, release, just like any other part of the body. The last thing that's really helpful when it comes to bloating is being aware of when you're drinking liquid around meal times. So when you're eating, you want your stomach juices, your stomach acids to be strong enough to break down the food that you're eating. If you have just chugged a lot of water and then you go to eat lunch, the stomach acids are a bit more diluted and maybe less strong and maybe not able to break down fully what you're eating, especially if it's high in fiber like cruciferous vegetables or fruit. So I always suggest trying to limit your liquid intake about half an hour before you start eating, and then after you eat, waiting about an hour to drink water again. Otherwise, it might feel a bit overwhelming on the belly. Okay, last question. What is a wellness coach and why would you do it online? Like, why would you hire someone to help you out with wellness and why might you do it online? So I kind of had this first question myself about a year ago when I was trying to figure out how to navigate the field of nutrition. A friend told me, hey, I have this coach. I talk to her once a week. We do it online. And I thought, okay, I guess I'll give it a try. And it turns out to be incredibly convenient and super helpful. It's like you have your own personal coach that you check in with once a week, and it's your time, it's your half an hour just to talk about all things you. You have your questions to ask about what you're eating on a daily basis, how much you should be moving, what you shouldn't be eating. You could talk about your hormones. There's a lot of benefits to having someone who listens solely to you about your current health issues. And the fact that you're doing it online, it kind of eliminates the need to be somewhere, to travel somewhere. It's just 30 minutes once a week where you have a virtual conversation. Even you don't have to do it video, you can also do it on the phone, but it's super helpful. It's not hard to fit it in your schedule. And you can also keep it on a regular basis. So you know, okay, every Tuesday, 5:30, I'm having my phone call and that's it. It's not such a large commitment, but it's really helpful. And the other thing about just having a wellness coach in general is that it's not all about food and exercise. There's a lot of information out there about food and exercise, but when you have someone who can individualize it for you to look at your age, your gender, your activity level, and then to incorporate that into the rest of your life. So how can eating well and moving well support your other goals? If you want to run a marathon, if you want to get a raise at work, if you want to be a more present parent for your child, if you want to be a better partner, that kind of all starts with how you take care of yourself. That's why it's not necessarily, or I don't call myself like a health or diet coach, but more total wellness. So really taking care of yourself from the basics, from movement, from nutrition, so that it kind of flows out into all the other areas of your life. So that brings us to the end of the first Facebook Live. Yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope I was able to answer your questions well. I will be sending out a copy of this video to everybody who's subscribed on my mailing list so that you will, if you didn't get a chance to join today, you'll get all the information tomorrow. Thanks again for joining and hope to see you next time. Bye.